What's happening, guys? Ronin Man here. All right, so this is kind of an intro video for the summit coming up. We don't have a house yet. We got possible house in DC, but it's not quite big enough, really. There's another one in Vancouver, not quite big enough. My friend in Pebble Beach said the earliest is February, but I want to do this thing during Christmas or New Year's, right away, month away. So if anybody's got a house, California, I think, is the best at the end of the day. I wanted Canada, but it just isn't looking realistic. So if you got a California house, or you know anybody's got a house who would like to host and would like to have their eyes open, because these summits, every guy who hosts who's not a Ronin listener is very grateful afterwards. I promise you that, because we're good guys. We clean up, we cook, we fucking laugh when there's a lot of good discussion. Anyway, so if anybody's got a house, let me know. All right. So this is a kind of intro, like I said. So the topic of the next summit, we're going to have, of course, sharing, and we're going to have all kinds of heartfelt stories and stuff like we always do. But as a logical topic that anybody I'm kind of preparing for is how to live abroad and live a very good lifestyle abroad. I know it's easy to buy a ticket, but it is not easy to succeed and really kick ass. And it's easy to have a half-assed life overseas where you kind of regret many decisions, and there's many surprising things that come along that you wouldn't think would be a big deal. But over long term, you sabotage yourself. So I want to kind of point out all those things I've learned in 30 years living abroad and living in many countries. I lived in India for about half a year. I was in the Philippines for a half year. I lived in Sweden for maybe about 5 months. I lived in, let's see, where else? I was in Hong Kong, let's say at least 5 times per month. So let's say half a year in Hong Kong. I was in China for 10 years, and I was in Japan for 16. And I was in Thailand living solid for 7. So each one of those countries is very, very different. And each one gave me new understanding of possibilities, ways to do things, ideas, and things that worked, gave me a chance to test. And I think most importantly, got me a chance to see a lot of people and see their success and failure, because that's what I learned the most from, because I'm only one person. But by living in these areas, I see other expats struggling, and I can kind of trace it back. Okay, here's the one mistake he made when he first came, and it sabotaged him. So whether you want to live abroad soon, or you're thinking, hey, this is kind of making sense to me. These women here are not worth it. I want to at least have the possibility of spending significant time in other countries. You're going to love the summit. So wherever it is, it's going to be soon. So I'm planning it now, and get ready to come. Can't buy your ticket, obviously, but as soon as I get a house, I will let you know. All right, I just want to kind of give you a quick story that I saw, like I said, a peek into one of the ideas, is that I was in Phuket once. And I think I was there for it was over 2 weeks. Let's say 3 weeks, which is a long time. By myself, 3 weeks. And first thing I did, I went to a meeting, and I met a Swedish guy. The guy said to me, he said, "Where are you staying?" And I said, "I don't know yet. I got to, get a place, and maybe I'll be down in, I can't remember the name of the beaches, but I was going to go down there or there." He's like, "I got a big house in the countryside. Why don't you, you got a bike?" I was renting a bike. And he said, "Why don't you stay at my place for a while?" He's like, "I'd like to have company." So I'm like, "Okay, cool." So I went over to his house. It was really cool. It was like a Thai house up in the hills of Phuket. And it was cool because it was too far to walk. It was way too far to walk. But with a scooter, it was no problem. There's no traffic or anything. So I just drive up there, boom, no traffic, beautiful roads, beautiful, beautiful. I mean, Thailand countryside is so pretty. Like, it's just, the beaches are great, but like the mountains and stuff, they're cool, man. They are cool. They're totally unique. And the sounds are unique. The colors are unique. The things you see the people doing are unique, and the vegetation's unique. And it's amazing that you're just in the middle of nowhere. You feel, if you haven't really traveled, you're going to feel like you're in like a Vietnam movie or something, right? It's very cool. So anyway, so I get up to his house, and I woke up there, and I was like, damn, this is interesting, because he paid very, very little rent. I mean, I don't remember what it was per month, but I wasn't much more than $100. This is quite a few years ago, but still, it's it's a wise thing to do if you don't mind not being right in the middle of the action, right? And 15 minutes away by scooter, right? So anyway, so I woke up, and in the morning we were having breakfast, and he said, hey, I got my girl coming over in the morning for my massage, so maybe you could go do something today, or we're going to go do something for a couple hours. I said, okay, cool. So then anyway, every morning was the same thing. The girl came over, and finally he told me, he said, hey, look, this girl comes over every morning. She's been coming over for like 25 years. And he said, she comes over, she gives me a very nice massage and hand job every morning. And I said, oh, really? And he said, yeah, he said, I kind of like questioned him, because sometimes when you figure out like a really cool thing in life, you don't really realize how amazing it is until someone like starts asking questions. So I started asking him, because he looked really happy, and he was older. He was not good looking. He was not rich. He didn't have any of the things that you think you need, right? He was not rich at all, right? I think he was living off some kind of pension that he had from Sweden. Well, it wasn't much. Something like a low form of Social Security, like a lower tier. He was living like that way. So anyway, so I asked him, I said, so what's kind of the payment deal you got with this girl? And he said, oh, that's the key. He goes, here's the thing. I knew her for years, and I can't remember if she was his ex-girlfriend or what her situation was, but somehow he had known her. Probably from a massage shop, actually. So anyway, she charged, if you did it one time, quite a bit. Yeah, I mean, not quite a bit. I mean, by American standards, it's ridiculously low. But when you live in a poorer country, it's very smart to think like the locals right off the bat. So he said, look, you come over, I like you to come over all the time. He says, why don't you just come over every single day, 7 days a week? And she lived right near his house, so she could walk there. She could walk. It was like something like 500 meters, right? 500 yards, right? So he offered her, I can't remember what it was. For the life of me, I can't remember what it was. But it was less than $300. It was less than $300 a month. And so that was what he would pay her as a salary. And then she came over every morning, and they greet each other, and I saw them greeting each other, and it was interesting for me, because I had always, I'm not a guy who hires women, you know what I mean? So I was like, this was all brand new to me. I had never, but it was interesting, and I want to pass it on. It was for a lot of guys, what he had was pretty cool. And she was very pleasant, I swear, every morning. She was like, maybe because they weren't dating, maybe because she knew what was going on, maybe because it wasn't a long time, maybe because the money was consistent, maybe because she didn't have many options in the countryside there, but she wanted to live there. She didn't want to move to Bangkok. She didn't want to go down to the beach with the higher prices and more pressure. And she could that was enough money for her to live, for everything. I think she had a kid, it was enough for everything. And she wasn't beautiful either. She wasn't beautiful. She was, at least by my standards, she wasn't. And she was older, definitely past the wall. And I said, so you pay her like, let's just say 300. I don't think it was 300, but let's just say $300. 7 days a week, she'd come over, and like I said, whenever they greeted or she walked home, she was smiling. She was in a good mood. She was a very pleasant type of person. Those people? They're just pleasant all the time. That's the way she was. Every time she came over. And if I ever drove by, I'd see her like doing something, just being, like some girls are like that. So they're just kind of self-satisfied, happy, and so he got that, right? He got that, a pleasant person every morning. She came over. She knew exactly what to do. I didn't ask him details, but he said she was very good at what she did. So she'd come over, and one thing you got to know about girls is a girl can give a hand job without any problem. There's no emotional connection. As soon as you start using other orifices, then it gets emotional for women. But a very kind of shocking thing to learn is that women can do a hand job with almost no connection, like to a friend or whatever. And that's the way it was. She would just come over. She would milk the cow. Whatever she did. And she would go home. And it was, I don't know how long she was there. Let's say 25 minutes, 30 minutes, something like that. It wasn't very long. It was a in and out. And he didn't have to leave his house. And that was it. And, for a lot of guys, I asked him about it. I said, hey, how does this change your life, Because I was there for like 3 weeks, right? And he goes, well, He goes, the big difference for me is I don't stress about women. He says, I used to always have relationships that were up and down and up and down. And it was just stressful, and I just didn't like it. And I didn't like going to the dirty massage shops because it's problems there. People try to, like sometimes steal money. And it's just like the atmosphere is heated in those places. And he's like, yeah, I don't like that. And he just didn't like the other customers. He didn't like going to the massage places at all. And girlfriends were okay, but he was older, and he's like, yeah, I don't really need a girlfriend, but I do need a release. And also he felt like she was happy too. So again, the toxic masculinity, he was, one of the big reasons why he liked it is because he could see that she enjoyed it. It was a little bit of human affection. They would hug, and it was almost like friends. It was like, hey, how's it going? How are you? Okay, and then she goes home. And, I just thought to myself, damn, the whole thing wouldn't have worked if it would have been a lot of money. Because if it was a lot of money, it ruins it somehow. Because then you're working all the time, you're stressed. When you're paying like less than $10 a day, it was probably less than $5 a day. I swear, it was probably. But it was enough for her. And I just thought, that is... And it had been going on for a long time, like a long time. And I just thought, wow, that's amazing. Like that lifestyle choice, is that he could live very cheaply off his Swedish retirement because he was far away from the beach. Not really far away. 15 fucking minutes because there's no traffic in the jungle. But at the time there was, I don't know what it's like now. I'm sure it's still pretty mellow, but maybe there's expensive houses up there. I don't know now. But anyway, he lived in a very pleasant house, very inexpensive rent. He cooked his own food. He was super healthy. He was very happy. He felt emotionally satisfied. He got into town. He'd go to his meetings. He had his confidence. It just totally released him from any need to kind of stress about relationships or, he obviously didn't have anything vindictive like child support. He didn't have any of that stuff. He could work everything out in his life. He was in control of his spending. He could decide what he was going to do with his money. And I think that's what a lot of things that a lot of Western guys don't have. Men love their children. They want to do the best for their children. They want their children to succeed. Men will literally jump in front of a train to save their children, but they don't like when somebody they don't know who has authority is forcing them to give a certain amount of money to the woman who can spend it on drugs or whatever, shopping or her new man or whatever she wants to. And he has no way of making sure the child actually gets that money. So child support just sucks because it's meted out, or it's not meted out. It's ordered by a stranger who doesn't know them. Let's face it. The judge never really hangs out with them, goes to the house, doesn't really know much. All he knows is their gender and what their lawyers said and next case. So that's kind of a nightmare. That would be a nightmare. If women were forced by authority, basically backed up by guns, to spend their money the way the court ordered them to, whether it was child support or even on clothing. If the judge said, a similar thing might be if the judge said, okay, look, you can't buy your own clothes anymore. You have to give the money to the government, a certain amount, and then that money, the clothes will be bought by the government for you. Don't worry, you're not going to go without clothes. You're going to buy you clothes every single month. And, you can state your preferences, but at the end of the day, you can't decide, what clothes are going to be bought. I don't think there's many women who would like that. Maybe attractive to somebody, but I doubt it. Maybe somebody who really hates shopping and doesn't care, like a bag lady or somebody with Alzheimer's or something, But most people would like to have control. And also, they would like to, most men, they really want to put the most effort into the things they think are most valuable. So they want to not only give the child stuff, but they want to, like, for example, you can give a child candy popcorn or candy, what is that stuff called? At the amusement parks. Anyway, that candy stuff, cotton candy. They can give them cotton candy, or, they can buy them something that they can use that will help them in their math studies, right? or get them on a trip where they hike and camp and have to challenge themselves, right? So guys like to have that choice. And, one of the things about your happiness is something that you probably don't think about, is the more control you have and the less hassle you have. It won't be overnight, okay? But there'll be a day you're going to wake up. And I promise you this. I will promise you this. Once you get your life totally under control, where you're living the way you want, in a style that you want, there's a day you're going to wake up and you're just going to be happy. You're just going to be fucking happy. Like, you'll just be like, wow. Like, I still don't have everything I want, but man, this is awesome. Like, this is so good. And, it's your own individual journey. It's what you got out of life. It's what you were doing that you didn't want to do. It's kind of, sometimes, when you make a good decision, you don't even know exactly all the reasons why it was a good decision. You just know that you feel better. And that's the thing. I think a lot of guys just feel like shit and they can't really figure it out. They don't really know where they're going. They don't really have any kind of authority over their own money or their own life. And they're running, obviously. This is the rat race. They're just running to make money. But the money is not being well spent. It's not being wisely spent. The food that goes in their bodies is not being wisely decided. And a lot of the reason is because the rush for money. They're having to make so much money. They just don't have time. They just don't have energy. And when you start to fix these things, amazing things happen in your life. Like everything, you start to unlock all the hidden talents that you have and abilities, along with your natural peace, comes when you start to do these things. You just start to get peaceful. You realize that your natural state is that, but you're messing it up by not, by living in a terrible situation, and, even just knowing these things will make you happier, because you now know that there is a way, just from this one short video, that there's a way that you could live with still getting affection, still getting human attention, still having sexual activity, with no money stress, and living in a very awesome country with a very stressful environment near a very beautiful beach. And you can work out every day. You can do whatever you want. That, I don't know if you understand what that means. That option is there. That option is there. I'll show you exactly what you need to do at the summit. So we're going to go through each guy. We're going to look at each person, and some people are not ready to do it now, but once let's say you're 55. This is what I was going to say, is say you're 55 and you're going to retire at, say, 64, and you got 9 years. Once you know what you're going to do, guess what happens to your inner peace? Guess what happens? Is you're happy. Those last 9 years will fly by, because because until then, like most guys, when they're looking for the retirement, there's really nothing kind of good. Like, they know they're going to make less money. They know they're going to be, They know the negative effects of aging. They know that they're not going to be as attractive. They know they're not going to have girlfriends that they know that they want. They know that it's going to get, kind of things are going to get worse. And I think it should get better. Is you blue pill guys, or anybody, your friend, blue pill friends, take them along to the summit. Take them along, because knowing that there's a better way will make you feel better, and it will make you'll buttress your strength to get to where you want to be, and B, helping other people, open other people's eyes to new options for men. These are for men. Options, better living, stress-free, the way they want to. This is just one of a many, many multitude of ways to live. And again, this is not my choice, but I see the wisdom in it for a lot of guys. It's like, fuck, that's pretty smart. That guy was fucking happy, man, for such small money. And he lived in such a cool place. There's so many people who'd be jealous of his Thai country house. Ooh, his house like even right now in Santa Cruz, I'm in a multi-million-dollar property, but I can hear cars outside. And there's homeless guys not far from here. This place where he was, there was friendly Thai neighbors. There was bananas. There was sunshine. There was jungle. There was birds. There was huge birds that came in his backyard area. There was some world-class beaches. Search Phuket beaches. And then those beaches were 15 minutes away by scooter. I mean, go look at those pictures. So he had those beaches. He could just, and then those beaches go on and on. And those pictures, they're not photoshopped. That's the way Phuket looks. Phuket is beautiful. It is gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And the food is great and cheap. And there's a lot of nice places you can live, not in the middle of the madness. Now, I kind of like the madness myself. So that's the thing. I was looking at him for his desires and his way of living, right? For myself, even though I appreciate that, it's not the way I want to do it yet. Maybe when I'm older, right? But I gain. Every time I see a new kind of way of living, I gain. So that's what I want to do at the summit too. I want to get any ideas anybody else has. Once I start spewing all kinds of good ideas, the things you can do, things I've seen, things that I've seen that I know work. Okay, once I start doing that, what happens is you'll be like, oh, wait. Oh, I didn't know that was possible. Holy shit. Wait. What if you added this to it? Or what if you did this? And then I'll be able to say, that wouldn't work because of this. But in the end, trust me, there's so many smart guys at the summit that we will improve the ideas. We will fucking improve the ideas. So it's a brainstorming sessions. It's a chance for you to bring in your own experience, your own ideas, and also to get a bunch of new models for living. Kind of like you look at prefab houses. There's all these different models. There's like a Swedish log cabin. There's this, there's that. There's modern. There's the Chinese traditional. There's the Japanese. There's the modern looking one with all glass. There's all these models of manufactured homes. They're models for homes, right? And that's what we're giving. But it's like models for living is what we're talking about. It's not expat. Nothing to do with expat. It's models for living. I called it expat, but really what we're talking about is you don't really matter. It doesn't really matter where you live at the end of the day. It's how are you living? That's what's going to affect you. And I want to give you new ideas, and we can merge them together, use them separate. Some guys want to make a lot of money. Other guys want to live in there's so many different ways. Some guys want the hottest women that possible. Other guys don't care. They want a bunch of women. Other guys want one. Other guys want to live on the beach. Other guys want, like this guy, this Swedish guy, they want a reliable, trustworthy, predictable life that's very satisfying and doable long term. That he can know that he's okay. So there's many ways to do it, and I want to give you as many, and maybe, who knows, maybe we'll even give you some ideas for better living before you leave or while you're still here. Because ways of living, sometimes it's transferable. So we're going to do those at the summit. So if anybody's got a house, I'm open to any house that would match. We still need a host for the summit. So like I said, I'd like to do it during Christmas, like New Year's and Christmas. But I'm open. So if anybody has a way to do it, a place to do it, let me know. I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I'm going to pick something soon, and we're going to put it in on the books. All right. I hope that's been got your creative juices flowing. All right. Thanks, guys.